How about now? Is my microphone working now? I feel like it's just gonna be weird and like fucked up like last time. Yeah. It's a little echoey. Yeah, I know. It's because it's feeding back for some reason. Hold on one second. Let me undo this. Hello. How about that? Can you guys hear me now? Let me know if that fixed it. Let me know as soon as we get that. That's going hard right now. Yeah. Can you see me talking? Still echo? That's weird. Is it good now? No way. Yeah, dude, I make hella jazz, bro. Alright, beautiful. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I guess we'll just hop straight into it then. Alright, dudes. Yo, thank you guys so much for tuning in. So yeah, so today, I made a synthwave track, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to just be going through like the sound design and like the mixing and mastering and all that stuff that I did for it. I think you guys actually are going to really like this. So I shot some footage. Let me know if you guys can hear my mic okay. I shot some I don't think it's like, yeah, okay. I shot some footage the other weekend. I did some like, some video stuff. So I got a bunch of really cool footage. So I wanted to make a video, but of course I'm not going to like use somebody else's track. So I decided to make a track that I'm going to use for the video. And I think the synthwave vibe just kind of works well for it. So it's still echoing. Dude, hold on. Check. Yeah, dude, I don't know why it would be echoing, honestly. That's weird. Let me know if it's echoing for anybody else as well. Is it OBS? Maybe. Check. Oh, weird. Okay, hold on. Uh Check. How about now? Can you guys hear me now? Is it still echoing and being weird? Yeah, no, I had two open because one was routed to my loopback and the other one's still routed to right here. Right here. Check, check. Yo, now we probably have one side coming in. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I think we might be making mic is low. But can you hear my mic? Oh, and I think that's why it might be coming back through right there. No, I need properties. Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's see, check, check. Desktop. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Advanced properties. Turn down the mic. How about that? Is that better? 1 2 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Check, check. Monitoring off, monitoring off. Let's see, mouth volume is going to be 0. Can you guys still hear me now? And then I need to go back and let's see, down to mono. Check, check. Yeah, yeah. How about that? Is that a little bit better for you guys? I still don't understand why it's coming through right here on this end though. But okay, how about that? Is that working? Yes? Okay. I just don't understand why it's going through both of them. Now echo. It's echoing now? Yeah, because I can hear it too in my headphone. I wonder if it's because like my playback. Check, check. Check, check. Echoey again. Okay, 1 second. Oh. Oh, hold on. We're just gonna have to check, 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 check. How about that? I think that might have solved the issue, perhaps. Let me know if that's good. Let me get a thumbs up for all my peeps. Yo, yo, yo. All right, so you guys can hear me okay? Even though I have an echo, we might just have to just get through it. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. You're right. So let's yeah. All right, let's just get into it. Um, we'll figure out. Yeah, got to get this show on the road. Yeah, totally. Okay, so we'll figure that out later. Honestly, actually, hold on. I might have an idea. Let me yeah, yeah, yeah. Check, 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 check. Is that okay? How about that? Check, 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 check. Okay, yeah. I'm gonna get into it. So let's yeah, let's jump in. So I'm gonna show you guys the track, and then way too low, way too low. How about that? Is that better? And yeah, I'm just gonna show you guys the track, and we'll just get straight into it. So let me go ahead and freeze all this, so my computer doesn't like want to kill me. Yeah, dude. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think the problem was that I was trying to route it through too many sources. I was trying to make an individual channel for my mic and the output, but the thing is that I think it was just looping back through itself too many times. So we're just going to keep it like this and keep it going. Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in, though. Appreciate it. Still low? How about that? Is that better? Is that better? Probably too loud now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I love how like the first like probably 30 minutes of the video is just like me trying to figure out this shit. Yeah, I know, I know, I know. But learning lesson. So after this gets done freezing, then we'll go ahead and we'll open up and we'll get into it. Yes. And then if you guys have any suggestions about how I can route my microphone correctly, I'm going to watch some YouTube tutorials and like stuff after this and then we'll get it figured out. But until then, let's get into it. Let me know if you guys can hear that okay. Check, 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 check. Check, check. Yeah, cool. Line, line, line. Yeah. Okay, so, yo, actually, I think this might work a lot better for my microphone. Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's kind of, the track. Yeah, no, hella synthwavy. So everything I made was in Serum. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay or if my mic needs to come up just a little bit. Everything I made was inside Serum. And so like this pad that I have, it's actually super simple. And the way I decided to structure it too is so that like if you look at my octave range, so everything for the beginning starts up on C2 and above, and then for the drop, what I wanted to do for like a progression, kind of just switch it up, is I dropped it in octave, and that's why it gets like super deep, and then I layered it with a sub bass and then put it in mono for its own individual track, because I thought it just sounds super sick when it was dropped down to octave, and I wanted to do that for my like progression. So yeah, sick. Okay, we're sounding good. So yeah, dude, that's shit sick. So let's go ahead and we'll open up Serum and take a look at it. It's actually really simple. It's just like a saw, and then what I use is a Juno, and then Hypa. So that's all I really use for it. And I like using the Hypas because they just sound like a little bit more clean for a super saw. Like you can see how it just kind of has like a nice bend to it instead of just like a straight down and up kind of thing. So I like to use those for layers whenever I'm trying to like make a super saw. And then all it is just a filter with the envelope cutting it, and it's going bipolar too. And then just a little bit on the drive, so you can kind of like just pull the volume back up. And then also too, for this specific sound, what I wanted to do is I wanted to automate the volume levels as well with the envelope, so that it's not hitting the whole time, and it's actually going up and down with the volume, so it's not always staying in signal. And I felt like that was really good because I wanted to make like a really plucky ARP kind of thing. And then I layered it with the sub, and I just used the square, and I just dropped it down. I feel like that layer It just really helps out a lot. And it just gives it more depth. Detuned just a tiny bit and then pulled down the random a little bit. Over here I use the sync for my modulation because I just felt like syncing it and just duplicating the waveform a little bit helped with like thicken it up. I usually do that with my super saws as well. I just find it's really well for thickening. Just soft distortion and then a high pass to scoop out all that low end. Want to hear what you're saying? Yeah. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Check. Yeah. Let me know if that's better or not. So yeah, so that's kind of what I decided to do for this instrument better. Okay, cool. So yeah, so that's what I decided to do for this synth. But most of it is just like right here, the envelopes going to the levels to kind of just like bring it up and down in volume. And then after that I just kind of sidechained it. My EQ, my good old handy dandy EQ, and I actually want to pull this up a little bit more because I feel like there's just like low end in it that doesn't really need to be there. So 160, I cut out the highs because the filter on the serum patch is already cutting out the highs as well. So I just want to make it, yeah, just cut out. And then a little bit of compression because since I'm automating the volume, it's always jumping up and down in volume size, and it's just really difficult to work with and mix. And I actually put a limiter on it too, because if you see right here, like it's hitting the limiter pretty hard. It's hitting the limiter pretty hard, but then again, I pulled down the limiter that hard because on the drop, when I dropped that synth down an octave, now it's like barely hitting the limiter. And I did that so I can keep the levels kind of at like a rational point the whole time. So it's just kind of level the whole time, because if I didn't have that limiter on there, then the intro would be super loud. And then when it gets to the drop, it would just literally duck in volume. So I decided just to put a limiter on there just so I can keep the volume straight the whole time. And then also I just did a little bit of EQ automation to gradually bring it in on the intro. Just like a nice little filter effect. Yeah, vocals. So actually I have these vocals down here. And actually they still have a little bit of low end in them that I actually really don't want. So I'm going to cut those up a little bit more. 200, yeah, I'll probably go up to like 240 on those. And for the vocals, I didn't really want much vocals in this. I just decided to do like short vocal stabs here and there, because the thing is I feel like it would take away from the overall atmosphere of the track, and I want the melody and the pluck to be my driving force for the track. I want my listeners to listen to that part, not really the vocals. And I decided to just put vocals in the background because I felt like it just kind of filled up the atmosphere. So for the vocal, I just did some EQ work. Cut out like pretty much a good portion of the high end. Did some subtle compressing just to kind of like glue it all together, and a little bit of saturation, warm and tape. And then just scooped out a lot of the low end, a lot of the high end as well. And then just put on the echo, 1/4, and pretty well wet. That's what she said. And then my bus is actually going to my reverb, and I'm just putting in a shit ton of reverb into it as well. Yeah. Same old Valhalla. So, yeah. And then for the bass line, for when the track actually does drop, all I really did is I just duplicated this channel, and I just duplicated it, and then just took out the oscillators and just made a simple sine wave, and then used my envelope to modulate the volume, and that's all. And then I just threw like a low pass on it anyways, just for whatever. And then no distortion, no compression, just simple sine wave, because whenever you're using distortion on your sine waves, whenever you start sidechaining, it can really cause like tons of artifacts, and you can hear the crunch, and you can actually hear it on this track as well, if you listen in here. Oh, actually, yeah. Well, when it's sidechained to the kick, so whenever the kick hits and the signal ducks, since I have distortion on that synth, it can cause artifacts, and you can actually hear it distorting and getting crunchy. So I didn't want that for my baseline, for my sub. I just wanted a clean sine, just so it just really hits. That's what she said. Yeah. Sorry if my microphone's like clipping. Anyway, so yeah, so I just put the baseline mono, of course, and that's just kind of it for the bass. What I had like a lot of fun with, honestly, is making this melody. So I believe I'm in G minor, and the melody progresses throughout the track. In the intro, it's just. And so what you can notice too is that at the end of the bars, I put a note up higher, so it's not just like the same the whole time. It just sounds like a regular ARP. So like right there, how it moves up, and then again right here. And then when I drop it down a few keys, and then I just lowered the last note. So it gives it variation, and honestly, what it's doing as well is that melody is following my pluck. So it's just starting on G, goes down to, what is that, D? E? Yeah, E. And then from E, it drops down to C. And so what I usually do is like, okay, I want my melody to follow my bass line. I'll actually just copy and paste that track down to my melody, and then I'll just kind of break it up, and then I'll just make a melody following around the bass line, because that's your rhythm. Like this lead, that pluck, that's my rhythm for the whole track. I want everything else to follow that. So that's what I would suggest, is whenever you first start your track, definitely find your rhythm in your lead, and then have everything else follow that. Yeah, and so that's the melody. And then what I did is for the drop, then everything kind of speeds up. So now you can see there's like tons of notes. So basically all I did is I just copied and pasted the first melody into there, and I just added more notes because the intro is just more broken up. And that's what I wanted to do for my progression for the drop. I want to start off slow, and then at the drop just really pick everything up. And then to also follow the pluck lead that I have, I just drop the octave of the overall melody. So like over here, everything's above C3. And then at the melody, when I drop the pluck as well, I also drop this an octave too. So then they kind of just act in harmony. Yeah. And I feel like just dropping everything an octave at the drop really just kind of added emphasis, and it sufficed for a good progression as well. Moving on and checking out this cool freaking, like, it's like a delayed saw, almost kind of like, it almost kind of sounds like strings, like live strings. Maybe add some swing to those melodies. Yeah, I think I have a portamenta. But the thing is like if I add too much portamenta to the melody, Yeah, so you already have a little bit of portamento down there. It's going at 24 milliseconds, and I felt like that was smooth. Like that amount of porta was smooth and it sounded organic. If I go any higher than that, then the leads, it just sounds like way too boingy, if that makes sense. And then also for the melody too, just a simple saw in a square. And then what I'm actually doing is I'm modulating the fine tune with my envelope. And then I went into my matrix, and then I think I pulled up like 40. Yeah, 40, and it's going bipolar on my fine tune. But that's kind of it. It's just basically the filter being modulated by the envelope and modulating the volume levels of the oscillators is pretty much the whole thing. So yeah, but definitely more swing would have been cool. I just wanted to sound organic, and if I put any more portamento on it, then it just sounded kind of cluttered, especially on the drop where all the notes start speeding up. It just, I don't know, it just didn't sound right. It didn't sound organic. So this cool little handy dandy, let me go ahead and I'm going to freeze these real quick. Yeah, so for the wave background lead, it's just saws, and then I delayed it with the envelope, so it gradually builds up in volume. And I felt like that added a lot of atmosphere to the track because that cool delayed like saw that's filtered out, it really has that synthwave like vibe to it, and it just fills up a lot of atmosphere. So I thought it was pretty good for the track because I could use the pluck and the melody. But I felt like I was like one element away from just filling up the whole spectrum. So this is, yeah. So, it's just basically like a delayed attack that's going to my filter. And the thing is I made it like bounce up again. And how I made it do that is with my LFO one, and I also assigned that to the filter, and then I delayed it by a bar. So whenever it goes up and it comes back down, I wanted it to come back up a second time without having to do anything with the actual notes themselves. So if you kind of watch what's going on. And I just thought it just sounded so cool, and it just, I don't know, it just kind of worked out. 16 unison, saw, and a Juno. And also too, what I added is I added a little bit of flanger, a little bit of chorus, and what's really helping this out is the delay. So I'm going to take the delay off, and you can kind of just hear it. So what happens at the end of the chord or the note, it just kind of cuts off completely, and it just has like an abrupt ending, and I didn't think it sounded organic at all. So I'm going to play it without the delay. It just didn't ring off and just sound natural. So that's why I decided to do a 1/4 delay. So it kind of just like echoes out. And really it fills up a lot of space in the track overall if you listen to it as one. So I just thought that worked out fine. So that's what I did for this. And then just a little bit of EQing. What I wanted to do is I wanted to scoop out this mid-end information because that's where my pluck lead has most of the prominent space. So I definitely wanted to make room for that. And then I just gave it a little bit of brightness and then scooped out, what was this? Yeah, pretty much 8K and up I just scooped out. And I actually want to go to like 230 on that. So yeah, so primarily just making room for the pluck lead. A little bit of compression, just like glue compression. Honestly, there's not too much compression going on, and then a little bit of saturation just to brighten up the harmonics, and then yeah, and shit tons of reverb sending to my bus. And then these are just chords. They're following the main melody as well. So like I said, I took my pluck lead bass line that I wanted to be my lead, and I just duplicated it. And then I just made some chords out of it. And that's all it is. And then I believe, yeah, so another cool thing that I did for my progression is that in the intro, all my elements are starting at like C2. And then, or like C3. Yeah, they start at C3 and then on the drop to go down to C2. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do something reversed for this background element. So I want to start low, and then on the drop, it all goes up an octave when everything else goes down an octave. And I feel like it really works for your compare and contrast because it just adds more texture to your track, and it makes it sound a lot more engaging because something is changing in octaves, everything's changing in octaves, and something's counterintuitive. So that's actually a pretty good trick to use. So then yeah, boy. So yeah, so raise that down an octave, or raised it up an octave when everything went down, and that's kind of like my progression. So that's what you always want to think about too, is like when you're composing and you're trying to do a progression, and you kind of get stuck somewhere, like maybe just pull things up an octave or pull things down an octave, and it'll sound like it's changing and it's variating. Probably like my most favorite thing is so I made this background lead melody that comes in every 8 bars, and I don't know, I think it sounds so freaking cool. Let's get into that. And that I think is like the power driving force behind this track, because that right there is like synthwave to the max. And like, dude, okay, so PWM, it's just like pretty much a modulating Juno, and then I just used another Juno right here, but most of the magic is in the LFOs. So like or the envelopes. This envelope is modulating the filter over here, and it's going bipolar, so it's not going one direction. And that's a big thing about this synth, is that it has to go bipolar. It has to start high and then gradually go back down low. Yeah, and then using which one, my LFO2 to modulate the fine tune. Yeah, fine tune, and it's going polar, just polar, so it's going one direction, and it's going up 20. And then they're also like my trigger and my envelope are actually off too, so it's not really, those aren't really doing much at all, except for just modulating a little bit of the movement and oscillator A, and then my fine tune. So it sounds like it's kind of like pitching up and down. So it's like a vibrato. That's primarily why I do that. So LFO2 and then to the fine tune, and then just kind of like modulate it, and it sounds like a vibrato. So it sounds like more real and organic instead of just like a plain like straight saw the whole time. Yeah, and it's just like a counter melody, really. Like yeah, it's just a counter melody going against everything else. And I feel like having a counter melody is really super important, because it adds so much variation to your track, and it's really engaging when you play it with everything else. Thinking about it now, I probably should have made some of the velocities different, so it just sounds like more organic. But for right now, I think it's all right. So let's look at this. And honestly, too, what I want to do is I actually want to pull down this 3K area a little bit more, because it just sounds a little ear piercing. But all the way up to 400, probably like, I'll probably go 520. Yeah, it's freaking sick. Oh yeah, and for the post-processing, like obviously you can hear like tons of delay. So I have it pushed up a little bit, and then what I also wanted to do too is I use the envelope to modulate the reverb too. So whenever it hits, and then It sounds like it's breathing almost. So whenever a note hits, it reverbs out and then it kind of comes back in. Yeah. Bear Claw. Yeah, much love, dude. Thanks for tuning in, dude. Yeah. So, and it just gives it like that washed out effect, which just sounds like super sick and like you're actually like in outer space or something. And that's like the whole goal of synthwave, is just to make it sound like super like Star Wars, like you're out on another planet or something. So yeah, a little bit of chorus, a little bit of delay, and then primarily just modulating the reverb. And then I'm also sending it to another bus with tons of reverb as well. And then also too, another thing that I want to point out for the melody, I actually have it pulled in pretty mono, because I have my lead pluck is stereo as well, and then this synth wave is actually pulled in a little bit mono as well. So I have my melody kind of centered, and then I have the counter lead that's above that, and then my main pluck is totally stereo on the outside. So you're filling up both spectrums and you're giving a lot of depth and width to your track. So whenever you're composing and you're putting all these elements in, you definitely want to make sure everything gets its own spot, and then it's going to sound like more real. Everything's going to have its own spot and its own space. And then actually, honestly too, I want to throw another directional mixer on this background pad and pull that in a little bit mono as well. Yeah, dude, that shit's sick. Save. You guys got any questions, comments, concerns? And then, so what I did is, I'm pretty much adding something every 4 bars, or every 8 bars. I'm always adding something new. So like it starts off with like everything being EQ'd, EQ automated, and then I'm adding in the pad at the end at the 4th bar, and then after that I'm now introducing the drums, because now I want to start picking up. And then the last 4 bars is just I'm EQ automating my envelopes, or my EQ automating my EQ. Yeah, so like right here the kicks just come in like and they just gradually just come in. And I felt like that worked a lot better with the track overall, instead of just introducing the kicks right away, or like full force. And I just feel like it kind of killed the mood. So I decided to EQ automate them in, and then I did the same with the hats. And then right here, when everything kind of like builds up, I just wanted to do a subtle build up for this, not anything like crazy, just a simple kick progression. And then right here on the last hits, they're all the way in on the EQ spectrum. And then I decided to let my my pad stretch all the way out, because I just felt like it was super empty if I just cut it out, and I felt like it carried well into the drop as well. So because it has that delayed volume, so I felt like that kind of worked as like a riser or like a sweep. So I found that to be actually really helpful as well. So I decided to leave that in, and then cut everything else, and then do a drum fill, and then dropped right into it. I have 2 drum fills. This is one of them. Usually, yep, like what I usually do, 1/4 and just a little bit wet for the echo, just so it kind of like rings off. It fills up a lot of dead space, so I found it to be very helpful. And then a crash, just so I can like have my impacts and everything. And then I'm also sidechaining my kick to, or my crash to my kick, so like it ducks every time it hits. And if you notice, like the vocals aren't loud at all, and the only reason why I'm using them is for like background, basically. Like and that's what it comes down to with like a mix down. You got to figure out what you want to stand out the most, what you want to be behind that, and then what you want to be behind that. So that's like what mixing is really. Everything gets its own spot. And for the vocals, like I said, I just wanted something in the background to just kind of fill up some more space. So that's what I did. And then I actually made this really cool reverse reverb from the vocal as well. So all that is I just took a vocal and then gave it a shit amount of reverb, bounced that, reversed it, and then just cut it off where the vocal actually hits at. And then I just added a delay, 1/4, pretty wet because I really wanted it to echo off. And then a little bit of neutron, just cleaning it up. Oh no, no. Yeah, taking out some of the low, some of the mid end. I'm actually going to cut that up a lot, and then taking out some of the high end too, because my melodies and my pads are coming through right there, so I wanted to leave that space open for them. And then, oh wait, that wasn't even the right track. God damn it. Yeah, 1/4. And then another cool thing too that I did is I added a tremolo. The tremolo just like allows it to bounce back and forth. So that's what gives it like that cool ping pong effect. And I thought that like sounded really cool because that allows like my instruments and like my monoed melodies and stuff to really just stay centered and have that main focus right there. And then this like basically it's like a sweep almost. The sweep is panning right and left. So that gives a lot of space for the middle where I want like all my percussions to be focused at as well. I was actually thinking about doing like a 1/8 rate, but I felt like it was just too fast and it didn't fit the vibe of the track. So check that. Like that's pretty sick, but like I said, it just felt too fast and it didn't feel organic, and it really didn't accommodate anything. So as cool as it sounds, like it might work well on like a dubstep track or something, but aside from that, like didn't think it worked. So yeah, and I have that every, what is that, every 8 bars. So I have it every 8 bars. So like it's always carrying as a sweep, and it's always like transitioning. It's always helping each phrase. Yes, phrase is actually a word that I use in like orchestral compositions. So, and that's actually the right term for each segment and section. So each phrase, it just kind of helps carry the transition, because transitioning into a different phrase is always super important, because if it doesn't sound organic, if the transition isn't there, then like it can really ruin the vibe of the track. So I felt like this in the background, it really helped with carrying over into each segment. And then especially like right here, so like you can see that my reverse crash stops on the last bar of the drop, and then and actually too, my my crashes have echo on them, delay on them as well, so they kind of ring off into the distance. So it stops at the last bar, and then my custom vocal sweep down here, that actually carries the whole track into the transition. So I'll play it, and then you guys can kind of see how it's being done. And like you can't really even notice it, and that's what I want to, because it's filling up the spectrum just enough to where it sounds all organic, but it's not like right there in your face, and it's not like kicking you in the nuts. So I felt that to be very effective. Yeah, very, very, very effective. So, yeah, questions, comments, concerns. How you guys doing today? Yeah, and then, so like I said, everything drops an octave, and then the pad goes up an octave, the melody speeds up, and then most importantly, I want to switch up the percussion pattern, because like on the intro, it's just like 4 on the floor, boom, boom, boom. I decided to like do something more like almost kind of breakbeat kind of style, you know what I'm saying, like a real cool like hip hop mixed with like synth. And if you notice too, at the end of every was that 4 bars, at the end of 4 bars, my kick slightly changes. And I feel like that's really important for percussion patterns, because it gets kind of dry and dull if they don't switch up at the last like the last quarter note of a bar at the end. So it just really adds a lot of variety. And so then your percussion pattern doesn't sound stale and dry. So yeah. And then, of course, every 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, every 8 bars, add another percussion, so that like a drum fill, so that helps carry along into the next segment. I find that always, like, every 4 bars I have some kind of drum roll somewhere, and it's not particularly for every track. Every track is going to be different, but I felt like for this synthwave vibe, it just made sense. Because if you listen to normal synthwave tracks, there's always like tons of like drum fills and everything. The redo the kick pattern. Why do you say that? Let me know why. No, why, boy? Would you rather prefer like a simple like kick snare kind of scenario, or is it just a pattern that you don't like itself? Do you think that it doesn't fit with the overall composition? Let me know. And then also too, for the last 8 bars, I introduced the background counter melody again as my progression. And then for the outro, I just switched up the vocal chops. So for the drop, the vocal chops are always changing every 16 bars. And I felt like that was really cool for a progression too. So it kind of switches it up. So this is the vocal chop for the drop. Yeah, it's super simple, but like it just really does fill up a lot in the background. And actually listening to them, they sound like they're pretty mid-heavy. So I'm actually going to EQ those a little bit more because I want some other elements to have that dedicated frequency. So I'm actually going to pull this down and stretch out my band a little bit more to just kind of get rid of that. Probably pull it up to like 280. And it's okay if like these are thin, because like I want other elements to have that space in the track. So I don't really care if these vocal chops sound that thin at all. So what I do, so yeah, like 280, and then just pull this down a little bit and then stretch out my band. Yeah, not much more high end. I really cut that out because I wanted the hi-hats to come through, but actually listening to it now, yeah, let's talk about the EQ on these hi-hats real quick. So what people get confused about a lot is they think that like 10K is up is bright, which it is, but like you can still make an instrument bright by just peaking the 4K section. But you got to be careful because like our ears are really sensitive to that frequency range. And I actually want to cut that up a little bit too. I don't want much more low end than that. So like yeah, like 11K and up, I have cut out. And like it still sounds bright, but it's not ear piercing. So that's like perfect. Actually, I might want to stretch this band over to the 5K section. Let's listen to that. Yeah, I really like in the 3K because it's like, it's bright, but it's not ear piercing. So yeah, that's actually really cool. I'm down with that. And then overall in the mix, yeah, dude, that sounds good. Something sounds kind of muddy though. And you know what? I think it might be the pluck. I think there's just a little bit too much 500 hertz range in it still. And the thing is like, this is my lead, so I really want to be like cautious about what I decide to EQ too much, because if I pull this down anymore and just like really manipulate the shit out of it, it can really make it sound thin, and then it won't really like have that room that I wanted to in the mix. Yeah, that sounds okay. All right, let's listen to everything else. Actually, yeah, a lot of the mid-range end is coming from this pad right here. So let's go ahead and EQ that a little bit more. Probably pull it to like 400, and then pull it out just a little bit more. Yeah, and what I'm doing is I'm doing a dynamic EQ too. So like whenever the frequencies right here get higher, my dynamic EQ is starting to compress it, so it's starting to level it out a little bit. So you can actually see it happening right there. Yeah. And actually, I'm gonna pull down that threshold a little bit more. Negative 37 dB. Yeah, all right, let's hear that in contrast with everything else. Yeah, and now since we're cutting away all that frequency space, we actually want to pull it up a little bit too. So it's at negative 4.8 right now, so probably like negative 4. Yeah, it sounds really good. So I actually brought it down brought it up probably like 2 dB because I was cutting out so much frequency space. So you always want to make sure you're compensating for whatever you're cutting out. And I feel like it has like a good spot in the mix. Like it's not up front, it's not really too far back, but it has like a nice like mid-low spot inside the mix. And then it's allowing for my melody to be kind of the center, and then my pluck to be up front. And then everything else is just kind of in the background, accommodating everything else. And actually, yeah, that sounds a little muddy too. I don't really like what's going on right there. Let's check it out. It's really hard to describe how to rework the kick pattern. I feel like the more modern approach would be more appropriate. Yeah, so like the simple like kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. And you know what? Let's actually rework that too, and we'll actually hear how it sounds together. Okay, so for the melody real quick, I kind of want to just pull this bell curve down. Yeah. Yeah, that actually sounds a lot better because now I'm giving like that mid-end information to my plug. Oh yeah, and before what you've done doesn't seem all that retro to begin with. It's just being honest, synthwave kick patterns are usually more simple as well as complex. Yes, they are most accurate, and that's why I decided to put a little bit of my style into it, and then show some of my inspirations as well. Like I have a lot of hip hop inspirations, so I figured do like a cool boom bat like kick pattern and percussion pattern. I thought that was cool because like that's my flavor and style that I'm adding into the synthwave genre. So like I feel like that's super important. Like if you have a genre, you don't always have to stick to the simplistic and like exact structure of it. You can flex a little bit, or even just like show your style, like, hey, this is my spin-off of this genre. Or like if I ever did like techno or house, like I wouldn't follow like the exact same pattern because I want to just show you like my style of that genre. And I feel like that's super important because that shows character. It shows a lot of character for the fact that like you're not just the same guy making the same pattern, even though like to the modern masses, like it's going to sound a lot better and more appealing because it's predictable. But at the same time too, like what's more important to you, like showing that you're an artist with a flair, or that you're just an artist that follows the same structure and pattern as everybody else. So it's really like a win and a lose at the same time. And you just, at the end of the day, you got to figure out like what's more important to you. Message rejected. I don't know why your message got rejected. But what I want to do is I'm going to stretch out my thing. And let's copy and paste this over there. And then let's do this. Let's remake this drum pattern and see how it sounds. So and let's do exactly what you were talking about. Just simple. And I actually kind of wanted to leave some variation over there on the end. So it's like boom, clap. Oh, whoa, why is this on 132? That's not what I want. Boom, clap, boom, clap. So let's listen to this real quick. Yeah, that might actually be cool right there. So it has like a little bit of variation. And then for the end. Boom, let's see. And then probably just bring that right there. No, I don't like that one right there. Probably, let's see. Bring that over to the end. Yeah, and then have it repeat. So that right there is the more general synthwave pattern, just simple kick, snare, kick, snare. And honestly, I think the reason why I don't like that style or that pattern too much is because like that's what dubstep uses, and it's so fucking annoying to me personally, because like I'm a huge like trap and hybrid and like really weird kind of like percussion pattern kind of guy. And for me, like I feel like percussion drives a lot of the track. Like your percussion is your groove. That's what people dance to. People don't dance to your like crazy fucking melody or like your leads or your arps. People dance to drum patterns. That's why dubstep is super easy for the masses, because all they have to do is go back and forth and back and forth. All they're doing is following the kick and the snare, and that's like your driving force. So if you kind of add a little bit of variety and switch it up a little bit, people can probably groove differently to your track or want to groove to it more. So I definitely would keep that in mind. That's why like synthwave is popular for like studying or doing work, or you know, doing something easy where you can just kind of bob your head along to it instead of like actually listening to like everything that's going on in the track. Anyways, enough with the rant. Let's see how this new kick pattern actually sounds. Actually, I want to maybe freeze it. I don't know. Let's see if my computer will be okay. Yeah, I don't know, dude. To me, it just doesn't sound that interesting. It sounds like really boring. Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't like it. I mean, if you guys like it, that's super dope. But at the end of the day, like I always say, it's all about like subjective opinion. It's all a matter of personal preference. And to me, it just sounds like super dry and just not really engaging at all. So that's why I decided to do that percussion pattern where it's kind of like a hip hop boom bap kind of style to it, and it has like more of a swing, because like with this, it just sounds boring. Just a kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, kick, snare, kick. Like I don't know. Just doesn't sound fun to me. Oh, you didn't mean 4 on the floor? Then what do you mean, dog? Tell me. You got to give me like type like kick, snare, kick, kick, snare. Yeah, no, I'm actually really engaged. And actually after this too, I'll probably like hit you up and we can do a Skype call. And I want to know, I'm actually really intrigued about what you think would work for this. And like even your spin on it, because like, yeah, super important. Always trying to learn more. And yeah, so that's this track. And I have a music video coming up for it soon that I'm actually working on editing right now. No, dude, no, don't apologize for it. No, dude, fucking no, don't apologize for it. And it's cool because like that's the part about like being open. because like it's really important to be open to new ideas, especially with art, because someone might suggest something that you might not think of, and it could sound like really cool, and then like can change your whole perspective on everything. So no, I appreciate you speaking up. It's dope. But yeah, I don't know. I tried it, and it's just not for me. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't like it at all. I would have to like send you the track and actually hear what you would do to it. Yeah, see, I don't know, man. That just sounds a lot more cool to me. I'm gonna go ahead and freeze all these again for 1 second. Um, Bam, freeze, boy. Yeah, and then after that, we can look at the master chain as well too. And a lot of like mixing and mastering, it comes down to like training your ear. So if you guys remember, like back a few minutes ago when I was like, no, 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 like when I soloed melody, I was like, nah, that has too much mid end information in it. Like you and over an amount of time, like you'll eventually start training your ear to know what to listen for. And that's why I went back to my hi-hats and kind of re-EQ'd those, and then kind of re-EQ'd a lot of things, because when I wrote this, I actually wrote this all last night, and then I started mixing and mastering it last night. And by that point, I just kind of had ear fatigue, and like anything sounded good to me at that point. So I was like, oh yeah, this is tight, run it. But now that I'm coming back to it, it just sounds like there's just a clutter of mid-end information that everything is fighting for. And you know what? I can probably scoop some more out of my kick as well. And then probably take off the saturation on my kick too, because I feel like it's probably like ruining the harmonics and causing artifacts as well. Yeah, and actually, since I have you guys watching, I'm actually making a big announcement tomorrow, and I'm releasing my album cover and releasing the fact that my album will be coming out in March. So I'm actually super stoked for that, and it's been a long time, some of you guys know, but I'm finally making the announcement, so I'll be making that tomorrow. I'm like super excited. I honestly cannot wait. So yeah, so album's coming out in like March, and the thing is like all these tracks I'm working on, like none of them are going to be on the album, and the album sounds nothing like what I've been working on lately. So it's going to be a huge surprise. I dig your early 90s two-step idea, but I thought it was like some 132s type hits mixed in would be cool. Okay, how would Skrillex set a kick pattern? Oh, so kind of like a bro step kind of feel. Yeah, I think that might be cool. And well, what the no, dude, I just want to like bring that over here. Yeah, no, like a bro step kind of feel. And I think I mastered, well, not mastered that, but I think I made that for the BPM that's at. It's at 95 BPM. So like, I feel like maybe if I slowed that down to like 70 or 75, it might have that style for Shizzle. Okay, let's do this. So for the outro, oh dude, sorry for smacking my lips. I hate doing that. Like that's like one of my pet peeves whenever I'm watching like tutorials or somebody like live and they just keep like dude, oh, that makes me fucking cringe and want to put a throat in somebody's neck. So for the outro, I just kind of kept that an octave low. What I do, did I bring that up? Yeah, and then I brung up my melody an octave so that it had that progression, and it also changed, and then I dropped my pad down an octave as well, so that it sounds like it's progressing, and you can tell that like the track is probably coming to an end because everything just kind of changed dramatically. And you can tell when the drop happens because everything changes dramatically too in like octave range. So instead of using like a bunch of really crazy textures to indicate to your listener like, yo, this is like a changing part or a segment of the track, you can just kind of like throw things up an octave or down an octave and it'll have the same effect. And then always less is more. So like your listener will hear that something's different, and then like their subconscious is like, okay, now this is a different segment of the track. So I pretty much just copied and paste the intro melody over here, and then just it just has fewer notes, so it slows down, and then it's up an octave, and then it just all kind of just starts breaking apart, especially for my pluck as well. Right, so for like to compare that with the drop, it's like super fast, like right. So then for the outro, I just wanted to break it up, do less hits, dun 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 dun, and then for the last 4 bars, like it really just breaks apart. So then like it's slowing down and you're really indicating to your listener that like, yo, this is it. So let's check it out. And then what really helps carry out the end is this vocal sweep that we did that just echoes off, and it just allows like a nice smooth like break from the track. So we'll check it out. So it has a super, super cool ending. I listened to a lot of tracks. Dude, Trevor, for some reason your messages keep getting retracted. I don't know if that's like you're doing that purposely. I don't know if I can like fix that. I honestly don't even know what the hell that means. So yeah, so and that's really important for making music, is like finishing strong. Like you want your outro and your ending, especially like the cutoff of your track, to just really bleed out, and it just makes it sound like real. You know what I mean? Like if you go to a concert, if you go to a show, like at the end of the track, like it doesn't just fucking stop immediately and then there's no signal. You know, like that's a huge buzzkill and it really turns people off. So it's really important to write out the vibe beginning to end, and that's why I thought it was super important to really just start breaking everything down here at the outro, and then having my reverse vocal kind of just bleed off everything, so then like the listener is just like, wow, like that's fucking cool, instead of just cutting off everything like really hard and then having them be like, oh well, like that was a buzzkill, or like, you know, like you don't want to kill the boner. Yeah, I just love that ending and just how it like echoes off into the distance. And actually, listening to it, I think I want to modify something on the melody. I think I actually want to give more high end to it. So let's pull this cutoff to maybe like 190. 195, because there's not much high information in this track besides like the hi-hats, really. Everything else is kind of being scooped down like a lo-fi style. So let's hear how that sounds. Yeah, let's add just a little bit more high into that. So we'll go up to like 200 hertz. And then actually let's add a little bit of resonance to that too. Yeah, I feel like that's a nice sweet spot. So 200. So now it's introducing a little bit more higher end to that sound, and it's kind of filling up that spectrum, that frequency spectrum overall. So yeah, it's adding a lot of depth to it. Yeah, let's look at this kick one more time. I just feel like there's so much mid in there. Let's go ahead and do some more EQing. Damn. Somebody just hit me up on Instagram. They're like, yo, did you go live yet? Like, yeah. No, I did. I am. Tune in. Yo, thank you guys for kicking it with me. You guys are like the freaking best, dude. The freaking best, dude. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, so I have some low. Yeah, and like I didn't want my kick to be like super punchy at all, so I decided to cut up to like 50 hertz. Let's probably stretch this band out a little bit more. That's ducked, and then actually probably pull it down to like 400. Let's see. Exciter. Let's probably turn that off for now. And then pull down on the reverb that is sending to the bus, because maybe that's what's like fucking me. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds a lot better. Okay, and then we'll introduce the saturation just a little bit. Do like pretty much parallel mixing with it. Yeah, that sounds sick. That sounds a lot more clean. Actually, I want to pay attention to the reverb real quick. So high, bass, late, yeah. Mode rate, yeah, it looks about good. Yeah, okay. And then let's listen to that snare. Probably. Yeah, give it a little bit more reverb. And then honestly, thinking about it now, I think it might be kind of rad to add a delay onto that as well. Because I feel like that, like, yeah, let's try like a 1/8 and then just bring it down just so it's like barely affecting it at all. Yeah, maybe even lower than that. And I feel like that would emphasis a lot, and it'll just kind of fill up some of that dead room, even if you can't like virtually hear it. Not sure if that's possible. Even if you can't really hear it, then it's still filling up background too, and it's making everything sound a lot more full than it actually is, because I don't have too many instruments. I'm only this whole track is 15 instruments long, and primarily 8 channels are the driving force. So it really goes to show that like you don't need much in order to make a full track. You just need to make everything sound full. Yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Let's hear that in contrast. Probably bring down the echo a little bit more. Yeah. Actually, no. I feel like it's probably just doing too much. Yeah, let's subtract that. And then I also want to, oh yeah, and my hats too aren't directly mono. Like if you look at my directional mixer, like they're like, yeah, like 0.10 away from being totally in the center. And the reason why that is because I want my snare to be dead center, and then have my hats just a little bit out more. And thinking about it, probably pan it maybe to like the -8, and then stereo pan. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, now that actually sounds a lot better, because it sounds like a real drum set. So if you're sitting on a drum set, the hi-hat will like usually be to your left. So doing a stereo pan and slightly just panning it to the left, now that allows a lot more room for the kick and the snare to be in the center. And now it just sounds like organic. Really, it just sounds like more real. And if you notice that like my melody is kind of like the driving force, I'm actually going to bring it down just a little bit. And then the counter melody is like sitting in the background. So it's just kind of like sitting in the back of the mix and just indicating that, like, you know, this is our progression, this is our like extra element and extra movement that's happening, but it's not like right up in your face. So when you're doing your mix, it's kind of important to, like I always say, like make sure everything has its own specific spot. And then yeah. Okay, so I don't know if my CPU is going to be able to handle this, but let's go ahead and try. I'm going to freeze up as much as I can, and then we'll get into the mix or like my master chain. So yeah, so let's freeze that. Questions, comments, concerns. Yo, thank you guys for kicking it. I really appreciate it. And let me know if you guys have any suggestions or any comments, questions, or anything. Yeah, dude. Anybody got any cool plans for this weekend, actually? Oh, fuck. That's what I was going to do tonight. Yo, tonight's emo night. There's like this venue downtown that hosts emo night every weekend. And like these cover bands come in. They cover like Brand New and Taking Back Sunday. So actually that might be kind of sick to go check out. Because I have such a sweet spot for sad boy music. It's so good. If you notice over here too, like it's not brick wall limiting, like the limiter is actually bouncing, like the signal is bouncing from 0 a little bit, and that just indicates that like there's still a lot of dynamic within this track. If you're just like clipping over there and it's just staying at 0 and not moving at all, like that's way too much and you're pushing your limiter way too hard. So yeah, check that out. The way you blend your style into synthwave, it's definitely distinct. I'm starting to pick up on your sound and it's sick. I love Logic so much. Logic is the bee's knees, bro. And yeah, and that's kind of what it's all about too. It's about like your style, you know what I mean? Like either it be from sound design or your style in general. Like it's super important, especially for standing out nowadays. A lot of people sound carbon copied, and that's why everybody's riding the dubstep rhythm train right now, and it's hard to pick out artists from the next. Like if I were to listen to a Sudden Death track and then listen to like, I don't know, like fucking some other dubstep producer, I wouldn't know the difference. I wouldn't be able to be like, oh, that's blah blah blah, or that's blah blah blah. Like I wouldn't be able to tell at all. Yo, Tiger, what up, son? I'll play the track back for you so you can actually hear what we're working on. But yeah, so making your style and your sound is super important. And honestly, that's probably the best advice I can give to anybody. Learn sound design and like just make your style, dude. Make your sound, because it's going to make you stick out amongst the rest. And then like Rez, perfect example. She has a sound and style nobody is fucking with for a long time. And that's why she blew up. She's different. So if you're making tracks in the same pattern, the same structure, the same sound design as everybody else, you're not going to stick out, dude. And that's the truth. And so if you want to be that artist that just doesn't stick out, then that's cool too. But highly recommend, dude, throwing your own flair. That's why I didn't do the basic kick pattern style on this. Yo, Tiger, after the stream, you can kind of go back. We just got done with like composition and mixing. But here's the track so you can hear it. Yeah, and actually I think I want to add some more low into that kick as well because it's just not really thumping through. Honestly, not even sure if I like the kick for this track too much, honestly. So probably cut it back to like 40 and then do some of that. Cut off some of the highs a little bit more and call it good. Yo, Tiger, what was your live stream on? You should send me the link afterwards. I want to check it out for sure. Yeah. We're making synthwave, boy. Okay, so I don't know if my computer is going to like this too much, but let's start getting into my master chain. So obviously, as I always use Neutron, I have a little bit of EQing going on, just bringing up the highs a little bit, cutting out 800 hertz, just a tiny bit with also dynamic compression, compressing it. So I'm kind of just gluing everything together, and then my compressor after that is like low ratio, delayed attack, and it's actually I'm doing parallel compression because I'm actually doing like a 60% mix into it, and then just a little bit of saturation, which I'm actually going to decrease a little bit more too. And honestly too, dude, check this out. Like look how low my track is without any limiting on it at all. Oh, sick, dude. Yeah. How is the Instagram live feeds? Is it pretty cool? And also, are you doing direct audio to Instagram? Because I know you can't stream on a computer, which really sucks for Instagram. I wonder if they're going to change that here in the future. Yeah, so it's like it's kind of balancing between -8 and -2. Yeah, so now let's start adding our mastering effects. So my Neutron, just minor EQ, a little bit of compression, and then finally the big boy. And I'm actually gonna freeze these two tracks as well because I'm gonna need everything frozen to pull up my ozone and have it not crash. Oh, you use your phone to record it? Oh, yo, what up, dude? Yeah, you're finally here. Welcome. And, yeah, thanks, dude. Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, too, if you guys are familiar with OBS, for some reason, it keeps exporting, like, super low quality, and I don't know if that's YouTube that's making the quality really bad or if it's just the stream itself. Because the rescale output is at, like, pretty much 1080. 1920 by 1080. Yeah, it's basically a 1080 with a high bit rate. So I don't understand why the quality doesn't look too good on the live stream right now. But who knows? Maybe after the live stream is done and it actually goes up to YouTube, the quality might be a little bit better. So yeah. So that's without the limiter. Instagram Live is great. Yeah, dude, I really got to start doing that. But like the thing is I have a big pet peeve for direct audio out because I love for my listeners to hear what I'm hearing, and I feel like if I'm recording that on a phone, like it's just not going to be too well. I feel like the only time I would go live on my Instagram is if I'm probably like DJing at like a homie's house or like playing on some CDJs and just doing like a little live set real quick. But for intricate tutorials like this, I feel like having direct audio is super important because you want your audience to hear exactly what it is. Let's turn on ozone and hopefully my computer doesn't crash. Let's shrink all that, open up the good old handy dandy ozone. Come on, boy. Yeah, so was it 20? Yeah, 24 hertz and down I scooped out. Because honestly, a lot of sound systems don't go that low anyways. Instagram freezes at times. Oh, yeah, that's so annoying. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think streaming on Instagram is actually worth all the technical difficulties? Let me know. I'm actually very intrigued. And I think my stream actually just froze too, so who knows? Yeah, let me know if it's freezing up on you guys, because I'm looking at it on a second desktop and it looks like it just fucking died. Yeah, who knows? I don't even know if it's streaming anymore. Yep, nope, says it's streaming right there. And says it is live. Stream healthy. Oh yeah, no, it's good. Okay. I think it's just my other computer froze. Yeah, because I just mess around. Oh yeah, well yeah, that's cool too. And plus, if you're getting like good engagement too on your Instagram by doing lives, like that's cool, beneficial. Anyways, so 20 hertz and down, I ducked out. Because a lot of sound systems don't even go that low, and then 20 hertz and below is just like super super low, and I feel like unless you're on a really big rig, like you might hear a difference, but for the average listener, like a lot of people are going to be listening to this on their phone. Once I compose the music video behind this, which should be done here by next week, it's just frequency that shouldn't be there. So when you cut it out, it allows a lot more room for other frequencies. That's what I did over here on the high end too. 17,000 hertz and up, all cut out, and that's what I always do on my master, and that's like a huge tip. Doesn't seem like much, but that's like really bright information. Doesn't need to be there, so I just cut it out anyways, and then it allows more room on my limiter at the end. So basic, just cut down 500 hertz. Everything just still kind of a little bit muddy, and then brought it up at like 1.5 thousand. Because I feel like it just needed some more information. A little bit dynamic EQ, not much. I had one down here for my kick because my kick was just kind of poking through too much, but I decided to kind of get rid of that, so I'm going to get rid of those bands. Most importantly, 12,000 and up, I kind of did -2, and it's doing a dynamic EQ, so it's kind of just pulling down those frequencies. I'm going to play it, and hopefully it'll actually get through. Yeah, and you know what? It still sounds a little bit muddy. I'm probably going to pull this over a little bit to like 400 and bring down the bell curve a little bit. Let's listen to that. Yeah, that sounds better, because now I'm pulling down the frequency, so now it's more just like low end and then that top end and then ducking down in the middle, because everything is just kind of fighting for that spot. And the thing is if you have to do too much EQing on your master EQ, you should probably go back and figure out which elements need that specific attention and kind of apply that to each individual track. Because if you're making like super crazy EQ bell curves on your master, then that means that something is wrong with your mix. So just kind of be cautious of that. And then actually I kind of want to add this band back because it was kind of helping compress the snare hit a little bit. So it didn't seem like too loud in the mix. Anyways, imaging. So everything below 200 is going straight to mono. 500 is kind of the same, just stuck in the middle. And then most importantly, like what I always like to do is I kind of push it up stereo in the 11K. And actually I'm going to pull this down to like maybe like 9,000 hertz. So then that way I'm kind of pushing out the top end a little bit stereo. And that gives like width to your snare, to your hi-hat, so it makes them sprinkle on the outside a little bit, but like most of it, the information is in the middle. So it's a good way to add some width. And actually looking at it too, most of this track is super mono. So instead of soloing each band individually, I'm actually going to start pulling up, we'll do this band, the 1 to 10K hertz band. And we'll start pulling that up a little bit and start giving a little bit more stereo depth. Listening to it now, I think this counter melody needs a little bit more attention for the EQ end. Yeah, it's just super mid heavy still, even though we previously did like a pretty good cut on it. Maybe even cut it up a little bit more, bring down some of that information, and then I actually want this to be a little bit more bright. And then actually probably going to do some dynamic EQ to this as well. Maybe too much saturation. Let's hear that in the mix. Sounds a little bit better. I'm scooping up to 1K because it just sounded kind of muddy. There's other elements in the track that really deserve that that frequency spectrum. So just kind of scooped it up, and a lot of the information in this synth is actually right here in the middle at that like 1K hertz area. See, you can kind of see it, and I kind of just want like the brighter end of it. So like all that like high mid information doesn't really even need to be here. Well, you're talking, bro, Tiger, because I was on for a minute. Oh, damn. You guys like been streaming on Instagram for a long time? That's what's up. Yeah, do you guys like, do people find you? Like, do you guys ever get new followers? Or like, how's the engagement with the live Instagram thing? I actually want to turn that off. Something, do I have distortion on here? Why is it sounding like that? Oh, you know what? I'm going to pull this, the envelope back just a little bit more, because I don't really want that high information in there. Yeah, it's a lot better. Alright, let's hear that for everything else. I feel like right there is good. It's not like super loud in the mix, and it's kind of tucked away in the mix a little bit, and I feel like that just works really well because it's not fighting for all the other space with everything else, and it has a nice spot in the mix as well. I was talking about when I said about cutting out the really low frequencies. Oh, wait, cutting out which low frequencies? It different. Not sure what low frequencies are you referring to? Is it on this counter melody synth? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, let me know. Yeah, that sounds cool. Okay, anyway, so back to the master. Let's see, my computer is cooking. Yeah, so a little bit of imaging to like really dictate stereo field. And then just a little bit of saturation, which I'm actually probably going to do a little bit less because I did frequency saturation. And then obviously 200 hertz and below, like nothing. Because usually when I add distortion to that lower end, things kind of like artifacts. A lot of artifacts start to happen over sampling. Yeah, so right here, the snare sounds good, but the other melody doesn't, so I'm going to bring down that mix a little bit. Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, and then long and behold, which I'm actually going to bring down my limiter a little bit to like -13. And then also too, if you have ozone, it has different modes on the left. So you just really got to like go through each mode and see what kind of like works best for the style of your track. I'm peaking at -0.3. Character is kind of slow. When you pull this up, it's kind of like your knee. So you're allowing how fast you want the limiter to hit. And actually, I think I want to hear what it sounds at like 2, because then it gives it a softer knee. So then I think it might add a little bit more dynamic for this track. And you can like see my signal over there bouncing, along with over here on my master out too. Like you can see the signal bouncing, and even like right there on the spectrum, like it's not hitting, it's not limiting that hard at all. And what's going to blow your guys' minds is after this, I'll put on a loudness meter and show you that my track is actually very loud without it being limited too hard. Yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. And then also dithering. I always dither my tracks. It adds like... Dithering is like super complicated to describe because it adds like noise almost to your track, and every time I add it, like I can hear what it's doing if you know what to listen for exactly. And loving it. I was multitasking when sending water in my stems. Oh shit, sending out stems, boy. But yeah, dithering is super important. Is this a new song? Yeah, I actually made this track last night, and I only made it for a lot of footage that I got over the last weekend. I went out and I did some videography. I went to a few events and did some photo shooting. And so I have like a bunch of really cool footage that I'm now starting to make a video for, and I'm going to use this track for that video, and I'm going to put it out probably like next week. But other than that, this track probably won't be released. It'll probably just be for the video by itself, because I want to make a track for the video that I'm making as well. So yeah. Anyways, dithering 24 medium, and noise shape is high. The higher you put it, it could add artifacts, or it could make your track sound more industry. So it really depends. So let's actually play between those two. Yeah, that sounds sick. I'm not sure what the dithering is doing exactly. It's really hard to tell, but if you're applying it and you don't know what it's doing, I would recommend doing a little less. But 24-bit is always recommended. And then strong dither amount, and then just high. I'm not going to do the max for the noise shaping because I just feel like it might be doing too much. And then also too, I know this track is going to be played on mostly cell phones. So if you switch the track into mono right here, then you can hear how it's going to sound on an actual iPhone. So let's do that as well. Yep, doesn't sound too bad. Nothing's really phasing, and this melody is really cutting through. So I feel like maybe even pulling out this melody just a tiny bit more stereo, and then I actually want to add some more high end to that melody as well. So we'll probably go like 207. And another cool thing that I'm doing too with this melody, you can share it to DM. You can go live with someone if you request it to them, and they can choose to go live with you. That's actually pretty cool. So it's like a joint live thing. That's actually pretty rad. Sounds like a lot more work for the actual payout for what it's doing though. Yo, check this out. So another thing too that I'm doing is I'm actually modulating the envelope for so if you like listen in the beginning, it sounds like super short and ping pongy, and then throughout the progression at the end of the 16 bars, the envelope is out further and it's actually sounding like the note is being stretched out. So I'll play it real quick for you guys. So hear how it's very short and stabby, and then at the end, once the automation goes up for the envelope, oh, that's not it. Yeah, so now the notes are actually longer, and that helps too for progression. It's subtle progression, and you like if you were listening to it, you probably wouldn't even consciously know that that's happening. But since there's not a lot of channels in this track, I chose to my progressions to be very strategic, and even if you can't tell exactly what's going on, like your subconscious knows that everything is always progressing, and it makes it a lot more engaging for your listeners. My followers would be watching too because they would get a notification that I'm live with somebody. Oh, dude, that's super sick. Yeah, dude. Yeah, my serum skin is the shit. Rick and Morty, son. And then like all the post-processing effects as well. Like they're all like different things too. So yeah, no, it's rad. And then like the global is super dope. So yeah, custom skins all day, brah. But yeah, so that's super important for your progression. If there's not a lot going on in your track, I highly recommend like making not noticeable progressions, but like tricking the subconscious to know that something is changing, so it's a lot more engaging for your listeners. So it's not like getting dry or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and freeze that again one more time. Yeah, small things, dude. It's all small things, you know. Less is more, and when you do a lot of less, it all really adds up. So yo, also thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in and kicking it with me. And since you guys are in right now, I'll let you guys in on like a little secret that tomorrow I'm finally announcing the release of my album coming out in March, early March. So tomorrow I'm putting out and doing promo and like releasing the album cover. So yeah, expect the album coming here soon, and everything that's on the album, like I told everybody else, like it's not like this music or anything that I've been creating lately. It's a lot more aggressive and really bass driven, and it's fucking nutty. So yeah, let's peep game, yo. And then probably throw on post-processing EQ just so I can see where everything's sitting at in the frequency. Yeah, thank you guys, thank you. Go back to my dynamic EQ and just kind of shorten this bell curve a little bit. I can see that's doing some like serious damage over here on my post-process from the drop. I think this sounds pretty good, dude. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have any suggestions or recommendations, but I think that sounds pretty okay. The kicks and the snares are really cutting through. I'm side chaining like all my synths to my kick, and one of them is going to my snare, so it's always ducking and allowing room. And actually, I think I want to increase my my compression, my sidechain as well, because this, yeah, this is being hit by my kick, and I actually want to duck this a little bit more so I can get a really cool pumping effect. So let's do that real quick. And then maybe add a little bit more release on that so it has like that really cool pumping effect I'm looking for. Yeah, cool. No, that sounds good. And let's apply the same to the pluck as well. Yeah, no, that needs to be hit a lot harder. Bring it up to 30 milliseconds and bring it down to probably like negative 33. Yeah, negative 34. That sounds good. Now it's like really cutting through because I feel like the kick is having a little hard time poking through. And then I'm also going to drop it down a little bit more for the pad that I have. Probably like negative 30. Let's go ahead and hear how that sounds. Yeah, that's cool. I'm using OBS, and honestly, it's free, but it super sucks because as you can tell, like the quality isn't too good on my YouTube. But I use this for my Facebook and my YouTube streams, and like it's free and it gets you there, but like you got to know how to set everything up. And I also have a loop back as well, so it can all be fed direct audio to YouTube. If you have the money, dude, I highly recommend buying a program, or else it's going to export the quality and it's going to be super low, like what you're seeing right now. It's just not really attractive at all. What else do I want to do? Oh, so the melody I think is being sidechained to the snare. No, it's not. It's being sidechained to the kick, and I actually want to change that because I feel like a lot of things are sidechaining to the kick, so the kick's really coming through, but oh, it is being sidechained to the snare. That's so weird. Why is that? Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay, and then probably bring it up like 30 and then just drop it down a lot more, negative 34. I can't wait, that's so awesome. Yeah, dude. Yeah, that sounds really cool. It has that nice pumping effect now. You should put this track on SoundCloud. Yeah, dude. Fuck. That's what people said about the other track music video I just released too. And it's like super cool, but it's like a minute long. So I would really have to like make this track a full-length track, which I'm super down for. And I feel like you would like the other track as well. I'll probably put a comment, and actually here, I'll do that right now for you. Actually, no, because then you'll leave the stream. Ha, JK. Yeah, no, I don't know if I'll ever finish this track or actually release it. That's the thing. Who knows? Maybe. I have no idea. Yeah, there we go. Now let's hear all of that together. Now that I've applied more sidechain. Oh, Brastic, what up, boy? Good to have you. Good to have you. Yeah, so I lowered the counter melody down a little bit because I just felt like it was up top with a lot of the other elements, and it was just kind of really destroying. It was getting destroyed in my limiter, number one, and also it was getting destroyed in the mix. And most importantly, you always want everything to have a specific layer in your mix down. So I actually brought down the counter melody a little bit, so it sits well in the mix with everything else. And now actually my snare is actually cutting through a lot more. Let me modify my sidechain max. Probably just bring this down to like -28 and just bring that up 0.5. Bring up my gain 0.5 on that. So, and actually, I'm gonna, yeah, 30 milliseconds from my release. All right, let's hear. I'm gonna freeze this all real quick so that my computer does not want to kill me. Yeah, Brastic, yo, thanks for joining. I think you should put another lead. No. Good idea. However, I'm going to say no because less is more. And I feel like since I already have a melody, my main melody, and I have a counter melody, that's all you really need to keep it engaging for your listener. I feel like if I put another element, and especially another lead, then I have to EQ that accordingly to everything else so that it has its own spot in the frequency spectrum. And then at that point, it's just kind of going to clutter up the mix. It's just going to be too much information going on. That's why earlier I was talking about like a lot of my progressions throughout the track. I have a strong progression throughout the track. So everything is being introduced or added or changed every 8 bars or even every 4 bars. So instead of adding another melody, just do 8-bar progressions, and then you won't have to add another element in order for it to still be engaging. Does that make sense? Let me know. Or is that just like super confusing as shit? So I'll actually show you too, and I think I might want to probably take out this last note too. Whoa, what the oh shit. What did I just do? Hold on. Stand by. Yeah. Yeah, I like that a little bit more. So like on that last bar, there's nothing there, and it's just all focused on the percussion fill. So what I did is in the beginning, everything starts at like C3, the octave for like my melody. And then on the drop, everything drops an octave. Yeah, so everything drops an octave, and then my pad actually goes up an octave, and that's my progression. So now that I'm like really switching up my progression for the drop, now I don't have to add another element or another melody or any of that. So that's what it's all about, dude. It's all about progression, and that will tell your subconscious like, hey, this is a drop. Everything sounds different even though it's the same. And then for the outro, I kind of brought my 3 elements up an octave again, so you can introduce to your listener that like, hey, this is the outro and things are changing. Yeah. It's all about progression, dude. I'm telling you. And also another thing too that I was just telling the other guys about is like my melody progression. The envelope note is always going up every 16 bars. So like it starts like really short and stabby, and then towards the end, the notes actually stretch out. So then that's also my progression as well. And that's all made in Serum. It's just a basic square sign with a saw, and then just being modulated through the filter to give it like that really cool boingy sound. And I can actually pull that up too if you're actually really interested in learning the sound design for that. Because like I said, everything in this track is all made in Serum. Yeah, dude. And then I'll actually show you guys the outro, because the outro is super important too. I just went over that a little bit earlier, but for you guys just joining in. So what I did is I slowed down the melody, and then down here I have my reverse reverb that kind of lets the track echo out. So it has that really clean ending, and I was adding a lot of emphasis on that earlier, that like you want your track to end strong. You don't want to just cut it off completely. Like you want it to ring out, because when it cuts off completely, like that ruins the mood for the listener. Like it really just turns them off. So I felt like a nice reverb, echo, delay on my sweeps down here to let everything just echo off and just bleed away. I feel like that was a really strong way to end, and it's really powerful because people, I think it'll get imprinted into people's minds that like that's a good track, because I think what dictates a good track is like your beginning, your middle, and your end, but most importantly your end, because that's how people are going to remember your track. And I hear a lot of producers who make tracks and it just cuts off completely. Like it's such a huge buzzkill. So it's really important to ride out that vibe the whole time throughout the whole track as well. Yeah, so that's kind of that. And then for the percussions, I did like a cool boom bat kind of feel for the synthwave. And actually thinking about it now, I think what I want to probably do is shorten up these hi-hats so they're only introduced every 2 bars. Let's listen to that. Nah, I don't like that. It's not filling up the full spectrum all the way, and I think I kind of like it better when the hi-hats hit immediately during the drop, because it adds up, it fills up that frequency spectrum, and it adds like that tons of that energy that you really want for your drop. So I think having the hi-hats at the beginning is super, it adds a lot more power behind the drop as well. So yeah. Questions, comments, concerns. I'm probably going to wrap it up here in a little bit. If you guys have any questions about like how I'm mixing or like EQing any of these or my sound design on any of them, please let me know and I'll go over those. But yeah, I feel like this is kind of it for this tutorial. I feel like we kind of covered all the bases. Also, what I want to show you guys real quick is I have these vocals down here. And, you know, you can't even really hear them in the mix, but I have them there to fill up the background. But most importantly, I have this reverse reverb audio from one of the vocals that I sampled. And it just kind of bleeds off, and it allows a smooth transition into every phase. So, like, every 4 bars, that's there, and it's helping carrying over into the next element or into the next phrase. So I'm going to play it through, and then you guys check it out. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Thank you guys for tuning in. Your streams are great. Nah, dude, Tiger, you're great. Don't fucking tell me I'm great when you're more great than my streams or me. I'm going to freeze these again real quick. But yeah, so if you guys want to take a look at my master chain, or if you guys want to go more in depth on any of the sounds and look at the sound design, we can do that. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, dude, please feel free to ask. And then I'm going to run this through one more time and then probably get out of her. Yeah, boy. Dude, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys mean the world. You guys are sick. Oh, freaking frack. No. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to play it through, and then you guys can kind of just see what's all going on. And then, oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to do real quick. Metering, loudness meter. I wanted to show you guys that, like, a good mix down with, like, a little bit of compression can get your track a lot louder instead of just brick wall limiting it, because brick wall limiting just crushes your signal, and people are like, oh, I just want it loud, and then they just crank the shit out of it, and it just doesn't work like that. Yeah, the ARP and the lead are really good. And actually, too, what I did is I took the lead, my main pluck, this one, and everything is following that. All I did is copy and paste that to my melody, and then I made a melody from where the lead starts. So I followed the same notes, and then my pad is following that. I just made it chords, and then my counter melody is just kind of going against all that. So when you're composing, you want your lead driving force, and for me, that was the pattern for my pluck. So it starts on G, goes down to E, and then C, and then that's it. And then everything else follows that. So yeah, but I want to show you how loud this actually is on the drop real quick. So it's balancing between -8 and -9, and that is industry standard. Whenever you listen to the track on the radio, if you listen to a track that's well mixed and like industry standard, the volume level is going to be bouncing in between there. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to pull down my limiter just a tiny bit more, maybe to like 13.7 dB, and then you can see it bounce over here. So if your signal is bouncing, that's really good, because that means that you still have dynamic and everything has its own spot. Because if you push your limiter too hard, you're crushing everything and you're ruining your whole mix. You just want everything loud. That's not what I want for this track. I want everything to have its own place, its own dynamic, and hella space. So yeah, let's check this out beginning to end. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Any more questions, please let me know. Yeah, see over here, my master is bouncing. It's good, that's what you want. Alright, so now I'm at -14 and it's doing some work over here, and you can kind of see it right there, and I feel like I'm starting to crush my dynamic and it's starting to distort a little bit. So I'm going to probably go down to like 13.4 where I had it. Probably bring in my knee just a little bit more. We'll do 0.1 and then check out the drop again. And then just adding for my compressor before my limiter, I'm just adding a little bit more because I'm doing parallel compression right now, and I feel like the elements just kind of need to be glued together a little bit more. But you got to be careful on your master when you're applying compression, because it can make everything sound leveled and it could ruin your mix completely. But at the same time, if you use it accordingly and correctly, it can kind of just glue everything together so it's not so open and out in the front. The hi-hats, what do you think about the hi-hats? I actually panned the hi-hats too. I actually panned them slightly to the left, so it sounds like it's a real drum kit that's in front of you, because if you're sitting on a drum kit, your hi-hat's always to the left. So I panned it a little bit to the left, and also what that does is it allows room for your kick and your snare to be straight center, and then you pan your hi-hats just a little bit. And I felt like that was really good for the vibe of this track, because now it sounds like real organic, and that's allowing space for your kick and snare as well. So yeah, so back to the compression. Oh no! And now let's see how loud the track is. Yeah, dude, this sounds tits, man. And if you can see too, it was balancing between -7 and -8, and like that's loud. That's considered loud. That's an industry loud track. And if you look at my stereo out, like it was not clipping at all. It didn't stay all the way up at the top of full signal. Like you can see the meter bouncing on my master, so that's super good. You always want it to bounce. So moral of the story: if you do a solid mix down, if you're EQing everything accordingly, if you're doing all your sidechain right, like you can push your limiter and actually get it louder while applying compression. and it'll just make it more loud overall without you destroying your dynamic of the track and clipping everything. So I honestly, I might tone down on my limiter just a tiny bit more, but I like how loud it is. So we'll do negative 13, and actually I want to bump up my ceiling to like 0.2. So that way I have a little bit more room as well. So let's check that out. I'm a bit guilty with a few songs cutting off the end, but I'm still learning, so my future ones, I'll make sure to remember that. You said cutting off at the end. Yeah, dude, you want to bleed out. I'm telling you, especially if you have reverb on your tracks. That's why, like, I usually apply, I put a delay on my sweeps. So, like, you'll hear it actually echo out. So check this out. See how it echoes out? And so what that does is it helps carry over into the next phrase as well. So it sounds like really organic and everything's carrying over and it's like all bleeding out. It sounds really natural. So I highly recommend doing that. Applying some delay or some echo to your sweeps, but do it a little bit. Like you barely want to be able to notice that it's there, but at the end where everything cuts off, like just check out how this ends. Yeah, it just sounds so fluent and so clean, man. I love it saving this. Yeah, ending is just as important as beginning, especially if your track's good and people want to listen to it all the way through and they get to the end and everything just bleeds off. Like people are gonna remember that, dude. It's the small things that really count. It's huge, homie. Like for real, for real. So I actually really like how this all came together, mixed and mastered and composed. And yeah, this sounds like super sick. And also too, every 8 bars, try to add something. Even if you're switching your melodies or your leads up an octave, down an octave, if you're doing automations on your envelopes to stretch out your notes, anything really. So it's all about progression. Always trying to add something every like 4 or 8 bars. That's why like at the beginning, you can see how like it kind of have this reverse stair effect where like I'm slowly gradually introducing new elements and then from there every 8 bars I do a progression. So yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think I'm going to probably wrap it up and get out of here. If you guys have any other questions, comments, or concerns before I get out, please let me know. And also, dude, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys know anybody that the stream would help with, please share it with them for sure. And yeah, dude, if you guys have any other questions afterwards, feel free to hit me up. Or if you guys have tracks that you guys need feedback on, I do a Feeding Back Tuesday on my Facebook page every Tuesday where artists send me tracks and I check them out live, and I have thousands of followers or viewers, and there's always like a label owner, 1 or 2 watching the stream, so you never know who you're going to see. I actually have a few kids get picked up on some labels because they were watching the stream and they really like the tracks. So yeah, that compression is really helping out a lot. It's really helping glue everything together. Now actually that I'm listening to it, so I had to put a limiter on this pluck because it just ducks in volume down at the drop. I'm gonna send you a track for feedback future. Yeah, dude, send me it to me. Yeah, dude. Also actually send it to my Facebook, my No Why Facebook page, and then direct message it to me there, and that's where I keep a log of like everyone who sends me music, because that's my most reactive right now. So going back to this, I actually want to open up my serum. Actually, no, I don't want my serum. I want my limiter that I have on this, because in the intro, it's super loud, and then on the drop, it just ducks in volume. So it's at like negative 15 right there, and then let's check out how loud it is on the drop. Negative 16, so it drops 1 whole decibel. So I'm going to bring up the gain a little bit more on the limiter. Okay, and then let's hear how it sounds on the intro. And you know what? Instead of limiting it to, I'm actually going to add some more compression. So I'm going to bring down my threshold a little bit more. All right, let's check out the intro. -40. It's bouncing really well at 16 over here. Okay, and let's check out the drop again. Yeah, that's way better. Probably going to bring down the attack a little bit more. You don't want to decay or bring down the attack too much, because you'll actually lose the first hitting transient of the waveform itself. So you never really want to go too hard on your attack and just drop it all the way down to 0 milliseconds. Yeah, that actually sounds really leveled now. Playing more compression and then hitting the limiter a little bit harder. Yeah, that sounds good. Compare and contrast. Yeah, and so what I did is, since I'm limiting the signal and it's not hitting too loud, I've just brought up the volume just a little bit, because I want that pluck to be my main driving force of the whole track. I want everybody to really pay attention to that and just like vibe with it. So since I did more compressing and more limiting to it, then I kind of squashed down the signal, so now I'm bringing it up overall. Going to get rid of that last note stab right there. And now too, if you listen, the bass line is really leveled with the mix, and I'm actually going to check it out on my post-process EQ as well, because you don't want the bass line to be loud. You want it to be a leveled out mix, so nothing else is like, you know, it just sounds leveled. And the thing is too, is that if you apply too much sub bass, it's going to take up a lot of room in your limiter, so you definitely don't want to do that. So let's check out, and we can visually see how high on the EQ spectrum my bass line is hitting. Might bring it up just a tiny bit, probably like -4 dB. Let's look and hear how that sounds now. Oh yeah, that's pretty high. So about right there on the frequency spectrum. I would recommend that is like a really well area right here for your bass line to be hitting. Any higher than that, then it's just going to overpower the mix, and then any lower than that, you're not really going to be able to hear it. So when people play it at normal volume, they hear an equal level of everything, and that's what you want. You kind of want to mix everything flat, and then have everything have, you know, like it all sounds equal, so someone doesn't have to go on their car stereo and like bring up the bass line or bring down the bass line. So you always want to think about what your listeners are listening to your track on. actually too, my kick isn't really thumping through as much as I would like it to, so I'm actually going to bring my EQ back on that a little bit. No, that's not what I want. I want my neutron. Neutron! Yo, thank you guys for tuning. Okay, so 40, probably going to cut it at 30 and down, because I just want to leave some room for my bass line right there. So let's hear if that's cutting through anymore now. More sidechain on my bass. Let's see, compressor. Let's do -30 and then bring it down to -30 decibels for the threshold. Let's hear how that sounds now. Yeah, and for some reason there's like some weird artifacts going on, and that could just be dependent on my compressor itself. Let me try a different interface and see if that's still the case. Maybe my attack should go up a little bit more. Yep, it was the attack. So the attack at 0 milliseconds, I was just adding some really nasty artifacts. So I delayed it. Primarily, it sounds really good at like 1 milliseconds, but I wanted it to be at 0.5 because I really wanted to cut through as soon as my kick hits. Yeah, that's sick. Okay, well, that kind of covers everything, dude. Thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out with me. Before I get out here, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Drop a comment. And then likewise, if you know anybody who might need to see this stream, go ahead and show it to them. I'm trying to do this every Thursday, and then I have Feeding Back Tuesday every Tuesday. So let me know, dudes. And thank you guys for tuning in and kicking it with me. Highly appreciate it. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope probably learned something from you guys as well, dude. So everybody's learning. Everybody's getting their dick sucked. That's how we do it out here. Dick sucks for everybody. Actually, I want to EQ this a little bit more on my my counter melody. I kind of want to scoop out some more. Yeah, we'll probably pull it to like right there. It just sounds a little too compressed. I'm actually going to lay off on my compressor just a little bit before it's hitting that master, because it just sounds like just a little too much. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty solid. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this stream, and I'll probably release this track with a video next week from the footage that I took over the weekend, because I got some really cool footage, just some B-roll stuff that I did. So yeah, dude, thank you guys for tuning in, and it's been wondrous. If you guys have any more questions, comments, please feel free to hit me up after the stream. Yeah. Cool. I probably might come back and do some more tweaking because pretty much now I have ear fatigue and I don't really even know what I'm listening for anymore. So after a day or two of refreshing my ears, I'll probably come back and make some more adjustments. Yeah, this sounds sick. And then probably might ease off on my limiter a little bit more because I kind of feel like it's squashing most of the mix and signal. Maximizer, bring it down like 0.5 dB. I like it a lot. Actually, too, before I get out of here, I think these need to be EQ'd a little bit more harshly because it just feels like some of the other elements are fighting for the room. So I'm going to bring these down a little bit more. Probably cut up to like, yeah, like fucking 360. 360 that bitch, boy. 360 and then pull down this a little bit more. Yeah, cool. And then probably bring those up because since I just did some severe EQ cuts, now it's going to be lower in volume. So. Yeah, that's like a lot more flat, so it gives other elements in the mix to like really poke through. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log off and get out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. And that was this week's edition. Yeah, probably going to make some more and we'll do some more next week, dudes. Thank you guys for tuning in and much love. Pieces and hit me up afterwards, yo. Bang, 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 bang. Yeah. Oh, wait, how do I... Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.